You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series and syndicating for the A-List Online. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith and I have a very special interview subject for you coming up. Her name is Annalisa Fernandez and she releases music under the pseudonym TRQS. Now the reason for the conversation with Annalisa is because she actually made my top 25 of 2018 that was posted over on the A-List Online. She released an excellent cut called MVIII. Yes, do definitely go and check that out. So we talk about that and a whole heap of other things in this one. So sit back, take it easy, and enjoy the conversation between myself and Annalisa, who works under the pseudonym TRQS.
Hey, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. I thought I'd better message you before because being in Queensland, I'm an hour behind time. We're behind everybody here, but we're literally an hour behind the other eastern seaboard states. So when I reread the email that I was sending to Rob and I think it was your manager or your publicist, I realised I probably didn't clarify. Gav. I probably didn't clarify I was in Queensland, so you're probably waiting for my call and it wasn't coming through. So if that was the case, my apologies. No worries.
It's okay.
How's things been going for you this year?
Good. Like, slowly but surely. I feel like releasing music takes so much time and work, so it's been good, but balancing everything can be a bit of a challenge sometimes.
Well, look, here's what I said, because I get a ton of new stuff from all genres you can possibly imagine, from really heavy metal stuff through to hip-hop, through to avant-garde, through to some B105, or it used to be called Fox FM down in Melbourne. I can't remember what it's called these days. Like the old stereo network stuff, sorry. Yeah, but I've been on 4ZZZ for a while, you see, which is an independent radio station here in Brisbane. But here's what I've said.
Awesome.
Here's what I've said about you specifically, the single. Now, I assume, is it MV11 or is it supposed to be the number, the Roman numeral equivalent number?
So it is the Roman numeral. It's kind of based off like an inside joke with a couple of friends. How people use the term when they message and they say mate, but they do like M and an 8. And then to fancy it up, we would just use the Roman numeral.
There you go.
The song is called Mate.
Mate, there you go. Well, this is what I said, okay, because I host 2 websites. One of them is called the A-List Online. Okay, so what I've said here about the single is, this young lady has the world at her feet and the world needs to take notice. R&B superstar in waiting TRQS delivers the goods on her new EP 1 via the cut MV11, a cut that should be all over Austereo playlists throughout the Australian summer. So here's hoping a programmer realises the talent and potential and gives Melbourne's TRQS the coverage she so richly deserves. So that's what I've had to say about it, and consequently the single itself, because I didn't have time to listen to the whole EP for it to make I just have a top 25, you see. A few of the contributors.
Oh, right, yeah.
But the single has made the top 25, so that's the reason I was inspired to reach out to Rob to have a conversation with you.
Amazing. That's so lovely to hear.
Yeah, it really did stand out, and not just it stood out from a lot of the stuff that Rob was sending through, all of which was of high quality, but your cut here in particular I listened to a lot, which is rare, as you can probably appreciate in the review circles, because we get a lot of stuff you listen to at once and you've basically got to keep trucking. I actually ended up putting your stuff on a playlist, Young JC, a fella over in Perth there, and a couple of others, and I've been listening to it a fair bit ever since I got it. I couldn't tell you how long ago I've got it, but the reason it made the list is because I do believe in what I've said there. It's not just a furphy statement there. I do hope an Austereo programmer picks up on it, whether it be B105 here or Today FM in Sydney or what have you. So here's my first question for you. How do you get onto our stereo playlist? Because it's something that's confounded a lot of my interview subjects.
I really don't know.
Yeah, this is a thing though, isn't it? It's like, this is a cut that beats most of the radio hip-hop and R&B that I've heard for a long time, actually. It's that strong, the song. But my fear here for you is that a lot of people aren't going to get to hear it. And by the time people wake up to things, you might have moved on to something else, for example, because the music business is tough. We all know that. I've been in it myself for a long time.
Yeah.
But how do you reach out, and how does your publicist plan on promoting the good word here?
I think just through getting like more blogs on board and promoting as much as I can. I think it is hard, especially because, you know, the scene in Australia is very like indie and like, you know, like Triple J and things like that. It's more on like the alternative side of things, and the R&B / hip hop is kind of a little more underground, especially in Melbourne, when it comes to original stuff. Mm-hmm. So I guess just keep working at it. Like, I'm not really sure what their total plan is. But I'm hoping, you know, that it reaches out eventually.
It's a tough
I'm happy that it's reached out even a tiny bit at all. So
yeah, look, I hear you. I hear you. You got to be grateful for small mercies at the end of the day, haven't you? In terms of people like me picking it up and the limited amount of influence that I have. I wish I could play it on my podcast series, and the reason for that is because most of my listenership is in the United States with my podcast series. It's just happened that way. And I'm trying to promote as much great Australian music as I possibly can of all the different genres. It doesn't really matter as long as it's great Australian music, which you are creating. I'm trying to give it a platform. But yeah, it's. I think we're all in it together because of the demise of the record industry, or the label. Yeah. Sorry, I should be more specific there. In that there aren't those specific networks for promoting material as there used to be, say, 15 years ago or so. And we're still really figuring that out, aren't we? I think a lot of people thought that the MySpace thing was going to give people a platform, but all that did was let us into Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and I'm probably missing about 20 others that I can't bring to mind right now.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's one of those things, isn't it? Because I firmly believe that if someone was to give your music a shot, it'd be requested a lot more. It'd be requested a lot more. And, I thought I'd start off with that question there because it's, as I say, it is music that does deserve a broad audience, but there's always that challenge about what's the process for obtaining that broad audience outside of having mega bucks behind you?
Yeah. I know with the people in my generation, especially, like, social media is, like, super key. In just, like, constantly posting, always like being super active, which I'm probably guilty of not really being that active because I don't love being on social media, or I don't like to let it consume me and like the most part of my day, you know, and which is hard. It makes it hard because then you have to be on all the time, and sometimes you just don't want to do that.
It's hard. The social media thing, it's also fairly fake, isn't it? And people presenting a version of themselves that isn't really them. It's just a version. And I know it's tough for young musicians because you've basically, you know, you got to respond to DMs. You've got to deal with a lot of interaction with people that you don't know. You don't know what emotional state people are in when they post things and therefore how you're responding to things. A lot of musicians have been burnt terribly on social media by not having certain political opinions or voicing political opinions even. And you walk a tightrope, don't you? And somebody like me, one thing I said to Rob is I do not do this at all, but there are a lot of syndicated publications out there that will pick up on things for clickbait. Now, yes, it would drive traffic to my sites, but I do not do it. I just don't do it because I've far too much respect for the artist. I have done it once or twice years ago when I was first starting out, and I saw what happened, and I thought I'm never going to do that again. Because you sort of read the comments, and I thought, my God, really? Do people not have lives? Don't they have other things? Yeah. You know,
it's so ridiculous how one little comment or something that might be like taken completely out of context, and then everyone's just like on them for like no reason at all, and like, you know, people are really sensitive about certain subjects as well. So,
what's such a weird time with the internet and social media the way it is these days? Because I'm in my 40s. I didn't grow up with the internet, okay? When I was at high school, we were submitting, there was a computer room available, but you didn't really use it. It was a bit of a gimmick, you know? And these days my daughter's using iPads in a kindy, in prep, you know, first year of school. They're using these things. I don't know whether they're using them for educational purposes, but she can actually drive the thing pretty well, probably better than a lot of adults my age can, because she's a digital native, you know, and it's It's not going anywhere, though. That's the point that I make there. It's certainly not going anywhere. So it's about integrating, adapting, and then overcoming. and just trying to cut through somehow. In the case that you're a musician, which you are, so it's yeah. Well, anyway, interesting times. And my question for you now is about your inspiration, because I was actually trying to pick it and I couldn't do it. I actually couldn't do it because I find your music very unique. Now, that probably says, yes, you are unique, but I might not be listening to a lot of the things that you might be listening to as well. So can you tell me a bit about your inspirations behind creating music?
Yeah, definitely. So one is just like listening to a bunch of other artists and like the melodies that I love and even just the production of it all. Artists like Her, if you know, Alina Baraz and Daniel Caesar. And they're all super young as well, like around my age, I think. And I just think people like that who are just on a completely whole other level and just like lyrically and everything. But it's not just like looking at other artists, because I don't like to usually say what artists inspire me, because then I feel like people will just put me with them as in like I'm trying to sound like them or I'm trying to be them, but I'm not. Like, but I also get inspired from the people around me and like situations, or I might be like writing about someone who's having problems, or, you know, kind of just everyday stuff, and taking it into a way that I can make it relatable, I think, for everyone. But yeah, I kind of get inspiration from really random things. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And you can really, what that means is that you can really take it anywhere you want. So you're not sort of boxed in by a genre, so to speak. You can, if you're taking your music from wherever you're inspired, it means that the music that you create really can go anywhere. And is that the plan for you? Do you not necessarily see yourself as being a, you know, just trying to categorize it, an urban artist, so to speak? Do you just see yourself as being an artist who creates music?
Yeah, definitely. Even when people ask me, like, if I tell them I do music and they're like, oh, what genre or what style, I don't really know how to explain it, because even nowadays everyone does like a fusion of things. It's never just like one particular genre that they're trying to, you know, pursue.
Yeah, and what's the reaction been like to one? Hopefully it's been positive, but what specific pieces of feedback have you been given by people who, you know, people you're listening to? I'm not talking about just randoms here, but just people who you're going, oh, okay, I really appreciate that feedback, that sort of thing.
I think hearing it from my parents is a massive deal for me. Just because I'm half Asian, so I'm quarter Filipino, quarter Chinese, and half Spanish. And so my parents are a lot older than me. I'm 23, and my mum is 40 years older than me, and my dad is 49 years older than me. So them growing up in a completely different time where, like, stability is everything, you know? So music wasn't always, like, the best choice in their eyes. But I think now that they know that I really want to do it and it's something that I'm truly committed to, they are supportive. So hearing feedback from them, like them liking it and them wanting to listen to it and sharing it on their Facebook that they don't know how to use, is a great sign from them. It kind of, even though they don't say it, I know that they're proud, and that's kind of nice to know.
That's very
that the
nice.
people closest to me are nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the Filipino heritage. My wife's half Filipino. Her mother's from Cebu, the island of Cebu, and we spend a lot of time over there. And I've gone out of my way to promote Filipino artists in the past, in particular heavy metal artists, because there's a lot over there, but they just don't get the platform. And
oh wow,
yeah, we love it over there. God, we've looked at trying to get property over there and stuff, but it's very interesting with some of the property ownership laws and the rest of it. I mean, we could give it to Kathy's auntie and just hope everything works out, but we don't really want to do that. She's a lovely person, by the way.
My mum bought land as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. Whereabouts is she from, if you don't mind me asking? She from up north, or?
No, she's like further down south, so sort of close to Mindanao, but we're not Muslim. We're from a little town. My mum's from a little town called Asami City.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really obscure.
Have you spent time in Davao?
Yeah, so in Assamese, I've spent time with like my family there.
Yeah.
I went last year for my uncle's wedding, so it was
Very
nice to go back.
Yeah. It's such a lovely, compassionate, caring culture, the Filipino culture, isn't it? We just love going over there, and one of my kids looks Filipino. One of my kids looks like me. I haven't got red hair or anything, but one of my kids looks Irish because that's my heritage. And she's got the red hair slightly, you can tell by the eyes her heritage, but she's got this brilliant blue eyes and this red hair. And she gets treated like a rock star over there. She actually gets photos taken of her. And
it's so crazy.
Yeah. Do you find that when you get over there too, you're a bit of the centre of attention?
Oh, 100%, especially where my mum is from. Like, it's a little on, like, the poorer side of things, where she's originally from. And even when I went there, like, people, like, aren't even oblivious. Like, they'll just blatantly stare, like, because I don't look like them. I'm whiter.
Yep.
And it's really, like, makes me so self-conscious about it. It's, like, to the point where it just gets really uncomfortable. You're like, God, it feels so weird.
Yeah,
but I know it's all in like good measure. So.
Oh yeah, look, it's all in good faith, and they're just because a lot of them don't get to travel, and the internet is still something that they don't spend a lot of time on. It is genuinely interesting to them to see somebody, especially someone like yourself and my wife and daughters who are clearly of Filipino heritage. They're definitely curious as to what the other half is and what you're doing there and who are you with and all of that sort of stuff. And
yeah, exactly.
But it's not as weird as it sounds, is it? I mean, you know it, so it's not invasive. It's just curious.
Yeah, curiosity, definitely.
Curiosity, yeah. So, yeah, I've been even thinking about trying to give some. It will only work one way, meaning I think we can only really give Australian bands a platform into the Philippines because I think it's just too hard to bring the bands over here, and the like. Yeah. They need to have an audience, is what I'm saying. But I've spoken to a lot of artists and I've implored them to get over to Cebu, and Mindanao might be a bit tougher. Some of the problems that you got to be very careful. You really got to know what you're doing in some parts of Mindanao.
I haven't been to like Mindanao. It's like where my mum's from. It's like near there, but not like on the same island. She's like, you have to take a plane from Manila to go to her island.
We got
really small.
My mother-in-law and I caught a flight over once, just together. We were going over there to meet my wife, who was working for Telstra over there at the time, and we got stuck in Davao. The plane was coming from Singapore, and it got diverted, and I thought, geez, what the hell's going on here? Because nothing was said. It was just, you've got to get off now. We're landing.
Yeah.
You can imagine the sort of thoughts. Yeah, you can imagine the thoughts that we had because of some of the problems that are happening in Mindanao and Davao. And this is before Duterte got in. And I thought, well, I wasn't. Well, nobody was being weird and freaking out or anything like that. But we were just herded into I don't know what the hell they had to do, but we just were herded into a room for about an hour or two. We weren't given anything. We weren't told anything, and then just told to get back on the plane. And that's my Mindanao Davao experience. That's it.
That's so random.
That was it. Yeah, I tell the kids all the time because we give some money over there and stuff, and when they don't eat their dinner, say. There are kids in Mindanao that would love to have this for dinner. You eat your dinner, you use stronger words than that sometimes, believe me. But I guess the point is it's a big part of our life, obviously it has to be, but we love the culture, and we probably have a family member coming over to visit between about every 3 to 6 months, I suppose. So they're never too far away.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. It's a nice part of the world, but just talking about your music again then. So tell us about your goals. I'm fascinated by this one here because you can do anything. You're very talented. Your music could almost go anywhere. What do you want to achieve?
I think logically my idea is that I don't really care about the whole fame and all that stuff. I just really want to be successful and really focus on the music side of things and grow that way. definitely goals are like, it'd be amazing to be on festival lineups and play shows, like headlining eventually, and build up enough if I can, you know, because I love to perform. Like I've been gigging for quite a while and even just like doing covers, but original stuff just is a lot more personal. So I find I get a lot more joy doing original stuff.
Yes, and I'm a career covers musician, and I know exactly what you're saying. I guess I just fell into it because I am a musician. I'm not a singer, and it was just a way of continuing to perform, if you like, and with the Melbourne scene that you've got down there, is there a lot of opportunities for you to perform and get out there and you know, be on bills be on nights where you've got, say, other up and coming artists as well?
Definitely. Like I'm friends with a lot of those artists that do shows and all those things. So it's kind of nice to grow together as well, because everyone has their own little circles and things like that. But when you kind of work with the people that you know and you're friendly with, it's nice to grow together as well at the same time as yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a lot like that. And is there any artists in particular that you like teaming up with for some gigs?
Do you know Blasco? He Gav also manages him.
Yeah, I've got some of his music.
So, yeah. We're super good close friends. And so I've been doing a couple supports for him lately, and also Rini. He's also a Melbourne artist, and he's very up and coming. I think he's going to go so far. And so those are a few artists that I've been working closely with, and I supported Rini for his EP launch a couple of weeks ago at the Workers Club.
Okay.
In Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And plans to come up here or go to Sydney in the future?
Definitely want to do that. I haven't thought about it yet. I think I still need to build up more of a base, I guess. But I definitely would love to do that. I did a collaboration. I did a feature with a Brisbane band called Slip On Stereo, if you know who they are.
I haven't heard of them. I'll look them up, though, yeah.
Yeah, and we got some radio play off the single that we did because they released an EP, and I was the feature and the single with them. So that was really nice. Yeah, great bunch of guys.
Sweet. And the other thing, too, is this album cover here. I'm fascinated by it. Tell me what's going on there, or the EP cover to one.
So Gav was pretty much sending me a bunch of mock-ups of things, and I don't know what it is about bath bombs, but the company Lush, I took a photo of a bath bomb ages ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want this, basically. So it's just a really bad quality iPhone 6 photo of a bath bomb. I just thought it was really cool. Yeah.
Well, it looks like, from any other perspective, just say Beyonce used it, it would have cost probably $100,000, maybe more to produce. Yet there you go. You're taking inspiration from anywhere again. You just got to use what you've got, what's in your environment.
Yeah, I think also with bath bombs, I think the way they fizz out is interesting to me. I think that's the way I want my music to flow, and just how the picture actually captivates what I want my music to feel like, if that makes sense.
I think it really works well, and that was the thing that I noticed too, because a lot of artists get that wrong actually, and they actually they dismiss it, not completely, but they put it to. It's literally the last thing that they think about, because people don't buy CDs anymore. People are streaming things, and it's a little dot of an image in the corner or what have you. But I think it's really important from the visual aspect. It has to be there, and I think it suits your music beautifully. And if I was going to describe the colours that your music evoke, it would be turquoises and aquas and things like that.
Yeah,
colours like that.
Yeah, hence why I thought that image was. Just worked perfectly. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. What about independent radio play? Have they been getting behind you down there in Melbourne? Not 4RRR, sorry, 3RRR?
Not yet, no. I think with the label and everything, I think the goal wasn't radio, just because it is a hard platform to kind of get
Sure.
on.
Yeah.
Probably in future, but we've been more focusing on blog premieres and things like that. On like social media, I think it's more accessible for people to kind of like check out, and like everyone's on their phones. So
Yes.
I think that's more of the approach.
Yep. Yeah, I get these guys know what they're doing clearly. Yeah, it's just it's tough, man. I opened up our conversation with it, but it's just I hear music as a lifelong fan and appreciator of music, and as a musician, I hear Mate or MV11. I hear this sort of music, and I think I feel really privileged to hear this, but I want everybody else to hear it too. And you know, with radio, I mean, it's very hard to get accurate data on how much penetration radio gets people these days, gives artists these days. It really is. And I don't know even if you get the data, how accurate it is, because there's just so many different sources these days. And I don't think that I could be wrong here, so I don't be telling a furphy, but I don't know whether they can actively tell how many people are streaming. So you know how all of these platforms stream these days? I don't know whether they can collect the data from who's streaming it, and I'm probably guessing anybody underneath the age of 40 is listening to it on a device, a media device, and not on a radio or in the car, for example.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
They don't really know. They can't tell. So if you're going to pay commercial radio to promote a release, whether it be via a commercial or whether it be via the usual influencing tactics that have been done in the past, I don't know how much of an end result it's going to get for artists. So watch this space, 2018 and 2019. It's a really unique space to be in.
I totally agree. Like, and it's hard, especially Triple J. I feel like they have a very big influence on like the younger generation and like the whole affiliation with like festivals and things like that. But I feel like radio play is definitely good if you want to be on a festival lineup. That's definitely the way to go if you really want to push for that. But it would be nice to get on radio eventually. This question
is going to sound absurd, but do young people still listen to Triple J? Like, you know what I mean? Like people in their late teens and early 20s, are they still tuning in? Do you know? Is that your impression, or?
In Melbourne, it's a big thing. I think it's because like the Hottest 100 and but yeah.
Yeah, I came up
and like
with
the whole like a version and everything. Sorry.
You know, you're not wrong. It's cool. Yeah, and I've seen the YouTube clips. I'm just not engaged by any of it, to be honest. And I don't think it's my age. I honestly don't think that's the case. I listened to about to say Nirvana because I was going to make the point about Nirvana, but when I was listening to Triple J, that's when Nirvana was on. So this is sort of the mid-90s, early to mid-90s or so. So I listened to it right the way through up until about when Merrick and Rosso were on it in 1999 or year 2000. After then, when the guys from Frenzal Rom were the co-hosts in the mornings, I don't know whether you remember that, but this is years ago. Sorry if I'm talking about things that are so long ago that they're irrelevant.
Okay.
And I tuned out, and every once in a while I'll flip it on. I don't even know what station it is anymore, to be honest with you, but you can always tell it's Triple J because of the music and the way the hosts are yelling and carrying on and all the rest of it. But a lot of the stuff that they play on there, it's like, guys, it's not doing it. But people are listening to this stuff. And as an artist, I wouldn't ask you to comment on other artists in that way, but for me, as somebody who is loosely described as a commentator and a blogger and all the rest of it, man, some of this music isn't doing it, and I don't think it's going to be around in a year or two's time. So I'd love to know, Richard Kingsmill, I think, is the station manager these days, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
He used to be he used to be a really good presenter back in the day. He used to do, on Sundays, he used to have a program, and it was the year. So if, say, it was like 1998, it'd be called 1998. That was the name of the program, and it was cutting-edge music from the year. I don't know whether they're still, I mean, I could easily Google it and find out, but just for the sake of our conversation, I don't know whether they're still doing that or not, but I used to tune into that almost religiously on Sunday afternoons, and I'd pick up a lot of really cool music. And from all, I got into Michael Franti and Spearhead, a lot of different genres. It wasn't just rock stuff or heavy metal or something. Triple J just hasn't supported heavy metal in basically ever, I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 hours on a Tuesday night or something, I think they give it. But They, but I still found a lot of the music very engaging. But the stuff that they got on nowadays, it seems to me like if a lot of these bands, if they're not ploughing a particular political point or so, they don't get the green light. And that's my impression. Anybody can disagree with me, but that just seems what it feels. That's what it feels like to me. Given that it's a national broadcaster, it's underneath the umbrella of the national broadcaster, the ABC. Triple J has this agenda, and it's like, guys, come on, you've got to be more than just this one political lane. You've got to broaden yourself out and take in all genres and all different types of music.
Yeah, well, I agree, because, and that's pretty much why our whole approach wasn't radio, just because of, like, it's hard if you don't have a certain agenda, and I'm not really about that. I'm just about the music and wanting to pursue that. And also, like, what was I going to say? It's hard if they don't back you up. Like, even if you do upload on, like, Triple J Unearthed, which I am uploaded on that, and I've had good feedback from, like, some of the hosts and stuff, but yeah, it just hasn't really gone anywhere.
And which really, and honestly, it really does. If I was gonna pick music that would be a surefire winner for them, I imagine MV11 or Mate being played at, say, on Drive. You know, I don't know what the program's called on the afternoons, but man, that would, like, 5:30, between 4:30 and 5:30. When that comes on when you're going home, man, if you don't feel something's wrong with you. And Triple J should really be tuning into that one there. But it's interesting, isn't it? Look, I'll go there and I'll ask you this question, because my wife and I talk about it a little bit, obviously, because of our familial situation. But do you get, like, and I'm only asking this because my wife and I talk about it, as I said, you know, it hasn't been anything that we notice up here or anything like that. But do you find pressure to conform to a political narrative, given your heritage and given your background, or has there ever been an implication of pressure from I'm talking about just from music industry types?
I think they just assume I can sing if I do say I'm Filipino, or they'll be like, that's why you can sing, or like, that's why you have talent, which I find that's a little, like, I don't really take that too much to heart. Like, I know it's not, like, super offensive or anything like that. Well, I don't take it that way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't really care. Like, I don't really care about people's opinions. Yeah. Like, it's not really my business to care. Like, I was born this way, and, like, I can't really do anything about that. So whatever you feel is what you feel, but I'm just gonna do my own thing anyways.
Yeah, good response. And you don't need to give a shit. That's the thing. And that's the biggest issue that I think that I have with people who have a political agenda, is the way they're foisted onto young artists to adopt a political agenda. Oftentimes they don't understand. Yeah. And did you see that thing recently where it was in the last 18 months or so, where there was, I don't want to quote the media sources, but I can imagine it would have been Vice or Pitchfork or one of them, was really going hard after, it was more than one, by the way, it was really going hard after Taylor Swift, saying because she hasn't voiced a political opinion, we can only assume she's a Trump supporter, therefore she's a bad person, or words to the effect. And it was like, how dare you make an assumption on what this young lady's thinking and doing with her life? Yeah.
It's like, what even gives you the right to speak on her behalf like that?
Yeah, it was so horrendous because, you know, you had Katy Perry having that, I don't know why she did it. She had cameras on her 24/7 for a couple of days. It might have even been up to a week. And a lot of, it was worse than that Metallica documentary. It came out 15 years ago or so. It was horrendous. It was actually, as far as I'm concerned, as a parent, it was very difficult for me to watch any of that, and I didn't. I tuned into it a little bit because I like to remain informed and up to date with what's going on. But I was looking at that and I'm thinking, if I was your father, young lady, sorry to sound like the old man here, but pull a bloody plug from the recording thing. You are not doing that. You have a better. It's very invasive. Whoever's told you to do this, or for the reasons that you think you need to do this, you don't. Take a step back and maybe take some time out of the music industry, like what Britney had to do.
Yeah. You know, if anything, I feel like being away from everything is the best way to deal with things.
Yeah, it is. It is. If anybody, I'd say this to any artist. Okay, now I've done a lot of writing. I occasionally get not even a troll, but just somebody disagreeing with the point. Whatever, everybody's welcome to their opinion. But Joe Rogan says it very well. He calls it the Eye of Sauron. You know that thing from Lord of the Rings, that big eye.
Yeah.
Called the Eye of Sauron.
Yeah, I love Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
You've got that. Is it called Eye of Sauron? I don't know about it.
The Eye of Sauron.
Sauron, sorry. Eye of Sauron, yeah.
It's fine.
Like, all of that negative political attention is like having the Eye of Sauron on you, whatever it's called, Sauron on you. And
It's so right.
it's like you can't get away from it. So my view on those things would be, if you've got an opinion and if you've just said it and, like what's happening to, who's the comedian that's to Kevin Hart?
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Hart, got to be careful when I say this one.
About the whole Oscar thing.
Well, the Oscar thing, but
is that what you mean?
Yeah, the Oscar thing, but he made some comments using the word for homosexual as a derogatory term. He's a comic, by the way, so just keep it in context. He's a comic, by the way. He's not backing down from it.
Yeah,
he's saying he's just not saying anything. I don't think, and I'm thinking, mate, you do that. You stand within your own truth, man. If these people have just picked, you're the one. The Eye of Sauron is on you right now. You're the one that they're going after.
Yeah.
And then I saw Neil deGrasse Tyson had some stuff come out about him recently. Did you see that at all? I mean, I won't go there if you haven't.
No, I haven't. But I do get what you mean. Like, even I watch like many beauty like YouTubers and all that stuff, and so much drama has just come from people like looking at their tweets from like ages ago and like finding one racist thing or one like something that they said wasn't right by someone today and like completely judging them on that. And then the whole internet just decides to like come after them with the Eye of Sauron for that one tweet or, with a bunch of tweets about being racist, all these things. And it's like, is this where society is at? Like digging for dirt when it like doesn't even need to be done. Well,
I think here's my take on things. Well, it's not really my take on things. It's taken from a bunch of different sources, But because I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of this reading not because it gives me pleasure, but because I like to stay up to date when I'm conducting interviews, and I like to know what the hell's going on, basically. But to me, a lot of this thinking has started in California in the 60s and 70s, with the flower power bullshit in the, the hippie stuff. And a lot of those people that were university students through the 60s and 70s became disenfranchised, but they weren't dumb, right? They were intellectual. They stayed in the university system and they've eventually become lecturers or professors, as they like to call themselves. If that's what they are, so be it. But it seems like everybody's at university over there is a professor or what have you. But they're the ones that have these ideals, and they're getting these very impressionable 17, 18 and 19-year-olds, and they're going, this is what the world is. This is how you fix it. Get to work. But they're imbuing them with these ideas that aren't born of any real rational thought. And it would be like, you can't just constantly go after people. And if someone's, for example, we're talking about Twitter now, okay? So if Kevin Hart's put something on Twitter from 2015 or so, and God knows that might as well be another generation. It might as well be the 1880s as far as Twitter's concerned, because of how quickly things move in there, and how quickly the public opinion or the populist opinion of Twitter changes, because it's like a cesspit, that bloody place. You can't just get these Twitter mobs that are motivated at their genesis by these lecturers at universities, and therefore they're foot soldiers of these non-worldly students who don't really question anything and just sort of go along with things because they're told that if you said this word here, then that means that you're a homophobe. If you did this, you're an Islamophobe. And if you do this, you're a racist. It's like question things a little bit more than just having this very rigid black and white view that isn't even your view anyway. It's borrowed from somewhere else, And I've just acknowledged that I've taken my thoughts and this from multiple sources, but it just sounds right. And I've got skin in this game because I've got two daughters, okay, meaning that I'm raising children. So I'm trying to make the world a better place through raising decent human beings that will pay taxes, support music, support artists, will themselves go on to have kids and just try to move the world forward. But I really question whether or not these people think, when they go on their Twitter and Facebook rampages, whether they've really taken some time out to think, how are you going to feel about this in, say, 10 years' time, when you do have life experience? And how would you like it if the word that you use today, so I know this is a big point, sorry, I'll finish in a sec, but how would,
That's all right.
how would you like it? So these are the trolls, so the people that attack people like Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
How would you like it if in 10 years' time, just say something that isn't considered offensive now, but you put it on Twitter.
It's offensive later.
Exactly. And you had the eye of Sauron on you, and you're like, but I'm raising kids now, and I've got a job, and I didn't mean it that way. Sorry, that the game doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't think that way. They're not like, I think you've got to have a real, and I'm not a practicing Christian, by the way. Practicing Catholic, by the way, but I do think you've got to take a bit of a Christian ethos with these things, and just give people the benefit of the doubt. Basically, if you're inclined to go after people, but these people seem to want chaos.
Well, it's not even people having it's like you would never do that and go up to someone like that on the street. So what makes you think you can do it on social media? Like people with keyboard courage, It's like, would you say the things that you write to someone in person if you ever met them? Like, no, you wouldn't, because then you would be considered a horrible human being.
Yeah, I believe me, Twitter's actually where I get my news from, because it's up to date. It's right now, okay? So, especially living in Queensland here, we've got bushfire threats and the like. So I've actually got to be on it for a lot more reasons than just to be silly and look at social pages and public opinion stuff. There's some actual, emergency response groups that are on there and all the rest of it. But yeah, it's I think just people need to get off social media and start talking to people and visit places like Mindanao and see how people on the other side of the world live. Because it's only people in Western countries that are doing all of this stuff. You know that. It's only people.
That is true.
It's only people in Europe, in the United States, and Australasia, meaning Australia and New Zealand, that are forming these really bizarre views. Put it this way: every Filipino that I know just works hard, and they're not. They don't. They might have a political opinion. We talk about Duterte quite a bit, and whether or not what he's doing is right or wrong. But you know what? At the end of the day, he's a president-elect. They can vote him out next time around, and that's generally the view that people take.
Yeah.
So it's it's a funny old world to live in at this point in time. It probably always has been a funny old world, but it's just that we're more aware of it because of the way information travels so quickly.
Yeah, that's true. We're not writing letters anymore.
We are, and I can't tell you the last time I wrote a letter. Actually, I wouldn't even know. I really would not even know.
I wouldn't even. I was probably a kid or something, like sending out invitations or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be about it. Actually, we do send out letters, and I'm just being reminded. You know what? They're not. We don't post them, but we actually put kids' invitations into envelopes to my daughter's birthday parties, various birthday parties and stuff. So we do that. So, but look, this has been a fascinating conversation. You have been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series and syndicating for the A-List Online. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that interview featured Annalisa Fernandez, who releases music under the pseudonym TRQS. Thank you so much for listening.